Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon. It is 4 o'clock on August 1st, 2022, and I officially open this meeting of the Conway City Council. Madam Clerk, can we satisfy the requirements of FOIA? Thank you so much. We have one council member missing who is not able to be here this evening, but there is a quorum present. We'll begin with the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Is Pastor Matt here? Pastor Matt, please. Thank you so much.
Let's pray. God, thank you for this beautiful day. It's a little warm, but we are thankful for the summer. We're thankful for this great city that we get to live in. Lord, I just pray that as decisions are made today, that we'll lean on you and not just on our own understanding, and that you will make the path clear forward. Thank you again for hearing our prayers. In your name we pray. Amen. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for the positive start. We'll now entertain a motion relative to approving the agenda. Mr. White, Mr. Hyman. Thank you. Is there a second? Ms. Butler? We're probably seconded motion to approve the agenda. All in favor, please indicate with a showing of your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. And relative to the consent agenda, is there a motion? Mr. White?
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Mr. Hyman?
I'll second Mr. White's motion.
We also have a properly seconded motion to approve the consent agenda as it is set forth. All in favor, please indicate so with a showing of your hand. And that motion also carries unanimously. We're now at public input. This is an opportunity for anyone to approach this council with almost any subject. The forbidden subject is that has to do with an individual employee. That, of course, would need to be taken up in a more private venue. I'll ask that you speak into the mic, that you give me your name, your address, indicate whether you live in the city limits or not. You have exactly 5 minutes to speak. You don't have to use all of it. We actually encourage you to use no more than you must. But there's a monitor for your so that you can keep up with your timing, and we'll use that as our baseline. So I know that Reverend Cheryl Moore Adamson is here to speak. And if there are others who would like to speak under public input, we'll certainly accept you by just showing me your hand. Afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am still in Conway, South Carolina, am I not? It's so good to see you all. I love one of my life scriptures being quoted by the pastor who just prayed. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. And that is a life scripture for a number of reasons, and it applies in a number of situations. And certainly in this one that we're addressing, I'm representing the Whittlemore Race Path Historic Society Incorporated on behalf of the Whittlemore Elementary School. We are following God's lead in running down all of what is required of us with the RFP to respond positively to the city in its offering of us to rescue the Whittlemore Elementary School from destruction and then to restore it to its former glory. There is a concern that we have presently, and that is that as a cursory drive around the property would demonstrate to you, there are more than 40 windows that are broken out at the school that have never been covered. As far as I know, it doesn't appear that there's anything on the ground to indicate that the windows have been boarded. And so I come today with a simple request to ask the city to mitigate further damage that they are able to, aside from the roof, which we know is a major issue. But for persons having access to the building, doing anything that may be harmful to themselves or to someone else or to the community, would respectfully ask that the construction crew that the city has be assigned to board up those windows. As I say, just to drive around in the car from where I could see from that vantage point, I counted over 40 windows that are broken out. And if all is required is to board up the building with plyboard, I think that that would be a precaution that the city would be willing to take. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll let you slide with your address and whether or not you live in the city limits. I think we know already. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who would like to speak under public input? Mr. Goldfinch.
Mayor, I move that we close. Sorry.
Mr. Todd. If you would start with your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Alan Todd. I am a Conway resident. Also, I'm a professor at Coastal Carolina and I have a deep interest in archaeology as well as structures. And I just so happen, sorry, the mask, sorry. I just so happened to be by Whittlemore the other day because of my love for these buildings and the clearly dilapidated nature of it. And I hear you and having those boards up would be nothing else, prevent people from continuing to destroy inside of it, which I took some photos of just because of my wonder for it. So I will second what you're hoping for. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else, please? Mr. Goldfinch,
This time I move that we close public.
is there a second? Ms. Helms? We have a properly seconded motion to close public input. All in favor, please indicate with the showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Moving forward, item 6, special presentation. A, presentation of longevity awards, July 2022. Mr. Emmerich and Ms. Helms.
In 2001, City Council created a program to recognize milestones in the careers of our employees in increments of 5 years. Tonight, we have 2 employees celebrating 5-year increments. Only one of them was able to join us. The first that was not able to make it was Billy Schwenke, who's been in our police department for 20 years. Billy's not able to make it tonight, so we'll just pass on and give him his check, but celebrating 20 years. Second tonight is Manny George Griffin. Manny, if you'll join us. George joined us in 1997, hired as a trades worker in our solid waste department. He was reclassified to a sanitation worker in 2019. And in 2001, he received our Employee of the Year award. He has been with the city for 25 years. Thank you so much, George. For your
He has a wife to take that check too. Thank you so much for your service. Item B, presentation of Tree City USA designation. Our old friend, our good friend, Ms. Lois Edwards.
May I start real quick? Sure. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Ms. Harden.
No,
Are you
you're
doing
fine.
an
You're
opening?
fine. I'm not leaning on my own understanding either. I've got my staff. So Tree City USA is a program sponsored by the Arbor Day Foundation in cooperation with the National Association of State Foresters and the USDA Forestry Service. It requires communities to have a tree board or department, a tree care ordinance, a community forestry program. And we even have an arborist on board, Wanda Lilly, who you guys are familiar with. And we spend $2 per capita every year to help improve the tree canopy in the city. We also have an Arbor Day exposure, or Arbor Day observance and proclamation. In 2021, when we applied, for designation. We were very happy to know that we were approved for 37th consecutive year as Tree City USA. Last year's tree-based activities include 2 tree giveaways in which more than 1,200 trees were given to residents, donated by the Clemson Extension and the Power Plant Program, an Arbor Day event, installation of an experiment impervious pavement around tree wells to allow them to breathe better, tree plantings at the sports and fitness centers, staff trainings on healthy pruning practices, and dozens of on-site reviews by the city arborist as requested by citizens for advice on how to keep our community's trees healthy. I hope that we will be able to continue and go and grow with this. Well, grow, yeah, and grow with this and going forward. But I'm super happy to say that Miss Edwards has been here for all of our years and is a proud resident of Conway when she could live anywhere in the state with her job. So I will introduce Miss Lois Edwards.
Thank you so.
I really am glad to be here on behalf of the Arbor Day Foundation and the South Carolina Forestry Commission to present Conway with their 37th annual Tree City USA Award. I tell you, I am very proud to be here because of a lot of things, and I do enjoy working and playing in Conway. Every year they have to send in, like Allison said, the tree board, which you do have an active tree board, your tree ordinance, which, and I understand tonight is showing how it really does work. You have some grievances, you go have different steps. And so that goes to show that you have to do those kind of things with your tree ordinance. So it's a public tree ordinance. So that we need, and of course the $2 per capita and the Arbor Day Foundation. 2021, since this is what we got the award for, was a huge year. We've been working with Conway with the green infrastructure and with a focus on stormwater mitigation. So it's what your kind of focus was for 2021. And let me just tell you, Laurel Street, they took down some old trees that were looking kind of sad and put in some Japanese blueberries that actually will that add to the pollinator inventory and do lots of good things for stormwater and have a new mulch. So if you haven't noticed the new trees on Laurel Street, there's a 3-block streetscape that was put in, and that ended up being the Arbor Day celebration when those trees were put in, and it was well received by the citizens of Conway. So you kind of did a lot of good things. Also in 2021, 1,400 individual plantings of annuals, perennials, shrubbery went into the marina and the Riverwalk areas. That's a lot. Your staff is phenomenal. What they get accomplished. It's hard enough to get trees and plants to live, but doing it the right way and they spending your money wisely to make sure they live and do it right. That's a real impressive thing. 83 large 30-gallon bald cypress were put in. And actually, like I say, having an arborist on staff that you educate, let go to conferences, really makes a difference. And Wanda is very good about sharing her talents and her knowledge around the state. The Forestry Commission appreciates her a whole lot because she's the one that we kind of test our grants on to see if they really work. But anyway, but also she serves on the South Carolina Biomass Council, which is a statewide committee. The planners and Wanda also sit on Waccamaw Cog. We're doing a grant with them on green infrastructure. They have been invaluable telling us about the community here. And in fact, in 2021, we did a big Planners Forest Toolkit. It's a book, and they use Conway, South Carolina as an example. and wrote it up in this planner's guide that has gone all nationwide. So you can be really proud of what Conway, South Carolina does. I just say it because there's so many of y'all are here that don't realize what the staff does on a day-to-day basis and how we really appreciate them. We appreciate it statewide. You're getting great information. The governor's power plant South Carolina program. In 2021, you gave out 400 3-gallon trees through that program, and they were gone in an hour. That's what kind of response it got from the citizens of Conway. Those people planted their trees. They'll take care of your trees, and now you have a nicer city because of that. So there's lots of good things, and a lot of it comes from being a Tree City USA. You get funding, you get grants, you get lots of good recognition across the state. And there's a lot in the hopper coming up in 2022. I do know that there's lots of good things coming up. We're having a tree canopy grant that just you and Mount Pleasant and Camden are doing right now, and getting a lot of good information. They're working with the Green Infrastructure Center out of Virginia on that one. And you'll get some good stuff. Your GIS people will be really happy with their maps. So I'm very proud. I know I didn't mean to take up so much time, but just be proud of your staff and council for funding what you do and becoming a Tree City every year. It pays back immensely to the community.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Ms. Edwards. Item C is a discussion of a request from Middlemen Properties LLC to annex approximately 8,100 acres of property located on Highway 378, PIN 33715010017, and request to rezone from Horry County Highway Commercial to City of Conway Highway Commercial. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am. This is one of two annexations that are side by side. The property started out as a single property and was subdivided under the county into two lots. And so this is the plat for the next two items, and just going to explain that we're going one at a time because they do have a separate deed and a separate tax map number. So the parcel we're looking at now is very close to the intersection. They're on Highway 378 and Green. The current zoning is proposed, or current zoning in the area is shown on the left-hand side. You can see that there's highway commercial in the red. There is some industrial, there's residential in the light colors. The applicants are asking for highway commercial because that is the same kind of zoning that they have currently under the county. So when we're looking for future estimate or future land use to make sure that the request is in line, we look over to the right to the future land use map, and the purple areas are now the commercial areas. So it does match with the future land use map from the comprehensive plan. So we go forward with the request on this. The next step for this, because this is a discussion with you, is that the next steps for this will be the August 4th. The Planning Commission will hold the public hearing and receive any input. If they make a recommendation on August 4th, we'll forward the information to the city clerk on August 5th and have that included in your next packet. If they continue it, we'll continue on until such a time as it's ready to come to you for a potential first reading. We've also already sent out 9 letters to the neighborhood properties. Legal ad ran in the Horry Independent. We put a sign on the lot. 15 days prior to the public hearing, and to date, there have been no emails received either in support or in opposition of this application.
Thank you so much, Ms. Harden. So this is a good time for us to ask questions. Am
Sure.
I correct? Are there questions or comments as we look forward to seeing this in the future?
Procedural question.
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming it's already on the agenda for the August 4th planning commission.
Yes, sir. We've already sent out the packets.
This is a new procedure that we're doing.
Yes,
Do we
sir.
need to make a motion that it go there, or is it all?
No, sir, it's already going. This is just for your information so that if you get phone calls when the public receives their letters or sees the sign, then this is to help you, give you a good background of what it is so that you can answer those calls.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else, Mr. White?
Yes. Do we have any idea about what's going on those two properties?
There's commercial, it'll be commercially zoned, so it would be a commercial entity, but at this point, we're not sure.
And my reasoning for asking is, one, there's a church right to the left of that.
Yes, sir.
And then behind it, there's a lot of homes, if you would.
Yes, sir.
So I asked one of the ladies who had the first house out there, did she receive a letter? And she said no. And it could be a mistake that she didn't get it, but 'cause she was in Alaska for a while. But anyway, I had to ask for that reason.
No, absolutely. We have we maintain the list of everyone that we send letters to. And so we can double check that and we can resend that to her if you would like, or at this point, probably quicker just to hand deliver it. So I'll be happy to do that.
Anyone else? Well, thank you so much, Ms. Harden. We'll move on to item D. Discussion of a request from MMH 378 LLC to annex approximately 8,200 acres of property located on Highway 378, PIN 337-1501-0010, and request to rezone from Horry County Highway Commercial to City of Conway Highway Commercial.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. And this is the other side of the property that we just discussed. As you can see, it's circled in red. The two properties are split by a little bit of wetland area. The property line goes through that, and that is discussed in the handouts that we get to the public, to the planning commission, and we'll discuss it with you if you like. But right now, the gist of it is that there's very little wetland, and they have the ability to go in there and repair or use it as buffer. The future land use is again commercial, shown in that same area as the property was all at one time, one ownership at the time the future land use map was done. 8 letters were sent to the property owners within 200 feet of this one. You had one extra property owner 200 feet from the other side. Again, no emails, same schedule for the other. As part of the discussion, when we're looking at zoning for future land use and for opportunities, we look at all the things that go in the highway commercial. And so we know that there are buffers between R1 and HC zoning that for whatever goes through here, they will be required to have a buffer between the two zones.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there comments or questions from the council? Mr. White?
I have the same comment as
Yes, sir.
previous.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
No problem. So the property here. So is it the house right behind?
It's the house that is right behind the church.
Right behind the church. Oh, that is outside of the 200-foot distance, and that's why we put the sign on the property.
Okay.
But if you would like to pass me along the address, I'll be happy to hand deliver a letter today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else? Ms. Harden, thank you so much. Item E, discussion of a request from Peggy J. Jones to rezone approximately 3,307 acre of property located at 1312 Forest View Road, PIN 338-1401-0030, from low density, single family residential to professional. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am. This is again to give you a heads up of what's coming down the pike. This public hearing is scheduled for Thursday, the 4th, with the planning commission. The property in question is on Forest View Road, shown in the green outline. You can see that Church Street is one lot over, and this residential area of Forest View is on into Pine. The property is a single family structure, but it is not habitable. It has not been habitable for a while. And the applicant has been working with the city and also been cited by the city in order to bring the house up to code or to have it demoed. There's a history of the property, code enforcement activities in your packet. We did go through to make sure that we had everything in order, so you would know the history properly. The current zoning is shown as residential. The proposed zoning is to go to professional. Professional zoning is adjacent to the property along Church and along 13th Avenue. 13th Avenue being that side of 13th Avenue being a buffer between the residential zone and the highway commercial uses in the red that you can see on the left. The property is in a very small area here in the light blue. This medium blue section is the professional zone that buffers this enclave, this neighborhood from the highway commercial side. Same here with this area off Ninth. The highway commercial goes along Church, but the yellow neighborhood residential uses are buffered by the professional uses or professional zone, which is fewer options than highway commercial and more of a neighborhood scale. The future land use map does not call for the property to change from residential. The land use map has this as the last property in the residential zone adjacent to the properties abutting Church Street. Again, these next steps are the same as the last. There is something a little different, however, in this one, we did send 13 letters out to the neighbors and put a sign in the yard, put the legal ad in, and we have already received 9 emails, all in opposition to this. Those emails will be part of the public record that will come to you for first reading. They'll be part of the public hearing input, and anyone that attends the meeting will also have an opportunity to give their opinion on this. So this will be up for discussion on Thursday at the Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Harden. Any questions or comments from the council? There being none, we'll just prepare. Item 8A, first reading of ordinance ZA 2022-0815A to rezone 6,500 acre property located on Schaffner Road, PIN 32513040016 from professional to highway commercial. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. First reading means that this would be the first step to making it final. At your second reading, if you approve this, the property shown on the screen in a light blue outline is currently vacant. It is on Schaffner Road. It is adjacent to other commercial developments for small shops to the north. It has businesses to the right, and behind it on the left or the west is the Food Line Shopping Center. The subject property is also on Schaffner Road, which Schaffner Road ends in a larger industrial use there. So we anticipate that that's why the area was shown in the future land use map as light or as industrial use. The current zoning, however, is as shown incorrectly on that. I apologize. They're going from P. The future land use map shows that whole block to be industrial. Again, there's some industrial use down at the end of Schaffner Road, but the properties before it have actually been developed more as a commercial uses. So you have the Food Line shop, again, the Food Line Shopping Center and all of that. We found that during this evaluation that we really need to go back in and reevaluate the future land use map in this area to make it more in line with the properties that are developed as commercial, so that they don't have any issues down the road with any rebuilding or any issues like that. Site photos for the property. UFP is the industrial site at the end of the road. The site again on the left-hand side is vacant. Country Club Drive is to the left, and there is an additional trade shop, small strip rental retail center on the left. The property owner wants to replicate that kind of environment. The land uses, like I said, were out of alignment with the future land use map and have been for some time. So the Planning Commission recommended the rezoning and amending the future land use map for this and adjacent uses at their meeting. And staff supports the recommendation.
Thank you so much. What is the will of the council? Mr. Harmon.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve first reading.
Thank you. Is there a second? Ms. Helms? We have a properly seconded motion to approve first reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion or are there questions? Mr. White.
We have these items on our packets and we listing, show a picture of something, you name the streets and stuff. If you, like I said, the food line building, if we could have labeled those so we know, exactly where we were talking about.
Thank you. That's a good point. Appreciate that.
Ms. Harden, I'll ask, you mentioned near the end of your presentation that there was a need for further evaluation of one of the aspects of this request. Is that something that?
It would not preclude the applicant from going forward with the plans that they
Okay.
have. What it is for, it's a official land use map error on our part
see.
that hasn't been corrected.
I say, neither will it change your recommendation.
No,
Is that
ma'am.
what- Okay,
No,
thank
ma'am.
you so much.
What it does is it underpins the zoning that's there, and if there was a change proposed, it would not support anything that's currently there to be restated.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone else? I will call a vote. All in favor of approving first reading of this ordinance, please indicate so with showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Item B, first reading of ordinance ZA 2022-0815B to rezone 2,900 of an acre located in the 600 block of Main Street, PIN 338-1303-0033 from professional to low to medium density residential district. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. This is a property that is, like you said, abuts Main Street and backs up to property off of Laurel Street at 610 Laurel Street. George and Clarette Mathis are the owners and they are here. So I'll go through the review. We had the review with staff and the subject property. It is along Main Street. It's in an area that has a lot of businesses in that area. It's a vacant, undeveloped piece of property. So we talk about the potential there. The current zoning is for professional, which is the primary zoning for commercial on that area of Main Street. The future land use also showed it staying as professionally zoned and not making a change. So when we have that kind of review, we evaluate the request and see what we can do with that. We looked at the property. This is a Google Street image from December 2021. The property has an existing brick wall around it and steps up to the site. But again, there's no building there right now. It also has several large trees on the site, which during the Planning Commission's public hearing and discussions with the applicant was brought up that it would be something that would have to work around if someone was to come in and develop on the site because the trees are very large. There was also another tree on the other corner. At our July 5th city council meeting, we talked about an alternative, see if there was a way to keep a commercial lot on the front. And so staff took that charge and evaluated the proposals. So as it currently sits, 610 Laurel's in the yellow on the left and lot 151 is in the blue on the right. Both are owned by the Mathises. And we talked about an alternative instead of rezoning the entire property on the right in the blue to residential. The way that we did that was to see how much we could get out of a lot on the Main Street side that would still meet the code, would still meet the width requirements and the depth requirements. And then whatever was left over, could we add that to the property on Laurel Street? So the green hashing in the middle is where the overlap came. On the right-hand side, you'll see a blue hashing 800 or about 8,000 square feet, 100 feet by 80 feet on the front. And that meets the minimum requirements of the professional zone for a new lot. The minimum requirements are 7,000. That's got an extra 1,000 feet. On the left-hand side of the Laurel Street hasn't been amended at this time, but the proposal was to add 60 feet by 80 foot area of lot 151 to 610 Laurel, in which case you would end up with something that looked like this. This would add approximately 16,000 square feet to the R1 property at Laurel if we, instead of rezoned it and moved the zoning line. Now, one of the things I haven't told you yet again is why the request was happening. Mr. and Mrs. Mathis want to build a greenhouse on the property. They don't have enough space on their lot at 610 Laurel. They do have that the property on Main Street, and they asked about building a greenhouse on that property. While that sounds like a simple thing, it's also in my backyard. It is still it's a different property and a different zone. So we had several technicalities that played into why that couldn't happen. One of which is that a greenhouse, which is allowed in the zone that was there, is allowed as an accessory use. So because there was no primary structure on the lot, we could not approve it as an accessory use. We also talked about the potential of moving the lot line like we talked about here to provide space. In addition, the next step after the Bethels discovered they couldn't just put it on a lot. It was like, well, let's build it on the back. You have to combine the lots in order to make it part of the accessory structures. So combining the lots, because we have a code in the city code that says you can't have split zone property, we then had to come in with a rezoning request from the Matheses to rezone everything in order to combine the lots. Now, if this goes forward as requested by the Matheses and they combine the lots, they will still be subject to the Community Appearance Board review on this area, and they'll be subject to all the other regulations we have. But this was an alternative option to possibly maintain some kind of a commercial lot on the front. The Matheses will tell you about their opinion on that. At the public hearing, the Matheses did say they weren't in favor. I'll let them tell you why. There's no other public that attended to voice an opinion, and no letters either in support or opposition. And after deliberation and much discussion, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the request by a 5-1 vote. If you have any questions of me, I'll be happy to answer them and then step aside for the Matheses.
Thank you so much. Anybody prepared with questions? I would like to have, I'm sorry. No? Okay. I'd like, Mr. and Mrs. Mathis, are you, there you are. Would you say a little bit about why you're displeased with the, yes, sir, please, if you will.
My name is Mike Mathis, and
Yes, sir.
come back right here. Sit. My wife wants a greenhouse, and I do too, since she wants one. So that's why we're here to apply for this. And we discussed this at the meeting the other night about dividing the lot. And dividing the lot, if you do that, the portion that would be butting up to Main Street would have all the historical trees and the trees on it. There's 2 real large live oaks on there, and there's 3 smaller live oaks. Okay. And there's one tree there that water drains constantly through it because of the slope of the ground, being that it's higher on that elevation and comes down. And I know ever since we've been there since 1966, that particular spot has been wet. And Jerry Barnhill came out and looked at it when he was with the city. And he said, Mike, there's really nothing to do about it because of the drainage from there. So even if somebody would attempt to try to build on Main Street with the trees there and the drainage there, then it would be hard to do, especially with the height of the lot, which could be graded down. I know to put a driveway in, but there's no driveway on that lot. It wouldn't be feasible. Plus, Joe Boy, who's got an accounting firm on the corner, he has to park now in front of that lot on the street because it doesn't have a front parking. And Joe and them next door, they have to park on the street or use our lot sometimes. Okay. And so with those factors involved, I don't see how trying to keep part of Main Street commercial would benefit anyone. First of all, we're not planning to sell it. Of course, we're not going to live forever either. But you know, that's our issues with it. And that's why we'd like the whole lot to be zone residential.
Right. Yes, sir.
If you would,
Yes, sir.
do that.
Would you go back just one slide, please? Maybe another? Oh, no, that one. So, Mr. Mathis, as you look at this photo, the driveway on the left is for
That's for the building on the
the
left.
building on the left. And the driveway on the right, is that a full driveway at all?
That's for the right. That's for the lot next door to
I see.
Charlie Ray
I
owns
see.
that lot. Okay.
So there's no
So there's
ingress
no-
or egress.
Right, in
for your
front of
lot.
that lot picture. Now that large live oak there And right behind, I don't know if you can see it, there's another oak there. And that's where that water constantly drains down and it stays wet there all the time.
Yes, sir.
So, do you have anything else there?
Thank you so much.
Every day looking at that spot. And it's a very large wet spot in between those two trees that stays wet constantly. It never dries, even if it doesn't, even if we're in the middle of a drought. You know, it's still wet there because it drains from the other part of Conway down there
I see.
to make its way down to the river.
I see. I see. Ms. Harden, is the current situation that from Laurel Street to Main Street incorporates a single lot today, or is it two lots?
It's two
already
lots.
Two lots.
In order to accommodate their wishes for the greenhouse, they will have to combine either a portion of this lot or all of this lot with Laurel Street in order to have that space available for the greenhouse.
Okay.
As we talked before, the city code says that you cannot have a split zone lot. So because this is split, this has two different zones on it. It's not just as simple as combining the lots. Before they combine the lots, they have to be the same zone. And that's why we're here for that. And at the July 5th meeting, when we talked about the options, we wanted to provide a look at or a view of what could happen if instead of rezoning the whole lot, they could move the property line of 610 Laurel back 60 feet to the place where it's shown on the site here, right there. And then leaving that 8,000 feet up on Main Street as a commercial entity or a potential commercial lot.
And are you saying that the Mathises are not agreeable to making the entirety of the property residential?
No, ma'am, I'm saying that the Mathises and Matt,
Due to the draining and also the trees on there.
Yes, sir.
And the usability of the lot for any type of business would not be feasible for anybody to go in there and try to put it there. First of all, they have to park. Because the park on this street. Now, sometimes when traffic gets backed up all the way from the bridge, all the way in front of that lot.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
the compromise that's shown on the screen was what they were not in favor of.
Okay, right. Okay. Mr. Goldfinch.
Thank you, Mayor. And staff, thank you for, I think at the last meeting, or some time ago, we said, perhaps this could be a compromise. And I actually wrote out there and looked at it. And if you'll look at the very top of the map, he was referring to Joe Boyd, but Holbert Company that's got we all know that building there at the corner of 7th and Main. And it's about the same, to Mr. Mathis's point, it's about the same size as lot 151 as drawn there. Plus you've got logistical issues of the tree. So it would be challenging to put any type of professional application on that spot after 610 Laurel was expanded. So that would be tough. But I think, and you already spoke to this, Ms. Hart, but the fact that anything that goes on that structure has to go before the Community Appearance Board brings me a lot of relief in knowing that anything that goes there is going to look good. And I've got confidence in that, and I'm inclined to support their request.
And enough to make a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a properly seconded motion to approve the rezoning as is requested. Any further questions or comments? Call a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by showing your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Item C. First reading of ordinance ZA 2022-80815C, granting a non-exclusive franchise agreement to Abel Wilson, DBA, a coffee movement for a mobile vending unit. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am. This is the first reading of a franchise agreement that we have been discussing. Mr. Wilson is interested in having a coffee or parking his coffee vehicle what's the word? Food truck, coffee van. Thank you. On property that is owned by the city. As we go through franchise agreements, we have a requirement by state law to run legal ads in a specific order in a specific amount of days. And Mr. Wilson did provide a proof that he has done that. We've also to restate what we stated at the last meeting. Mr. Wilson is aware that the property where he's proposing to go off of the Riverwalk off Second Avenue may be conveyed to another owner in the future, and at which point we will inform him. And but he also has the ability within 30 days notice to say, I'm done with the franchise as well. So
Absolutely. And with all that said, I move that we approve first reading. Is there a second? Mr. Hyman?
Mayor, I'll second the motion.
I have a properly seconded motion to approve first reading. Any discussion at all? There being none, all in favor, please indicate so with a showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Best wishes. One more reading. Item D, first reading of ordinance ZA 2022-08-15D to amend Article 6, Design Standards of Unified Development Ordinance, UDO, to increase the maximum height limit for parcel zoned highway commercial in the Gateway Corridor overlay. Ms. Harden.
yes, ma'am, Your Honor. This is a outcome of a discussion that has started since you've done the hotel incentive program. We're getting calls and requests for information. As such, one of the things that we have noted that needs to be amended in order to encourage that kind of development in the appropriate areas is to amend the height limit. The height limits for typical 3 to 5 story mid-entry point hotel brand it needs to be at least 60 to 65 feet. Currently, our height limit is 50 feet, but we didn't want to increase the height limit citywide. We didn't want to increase it everywhere there was highway commercial, because highway commercial is not always abutting a large street like Highway 501. We wanted to focus on the roadway area or the section of the community that could handle that height and the business that comes with that. So we're recommending that the height limits that are in section K for the Gateway Corridor overlay be amended to have a following exception: that parcels zoned highway commercial in the Gateway Corridor overlay along Highway 501 between Lake Busby and Carolina Forest Boulevard shall be limited to 65 feet above base floor elevations.
Thank you, ma'am. Comments, questions from the council? Mr. Goldfinch.
Mayor, I move at this time, we approve first reading of Sidewalk.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. We're probably seconded motion to approve first reading of this ordinance. At this point, again, any comments or questions? There being none, all in favor, please indicate so with a showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item E, first reading of ordinance 2022-08-15E, Article J, Chapter 5, Hotel Incentive of the City of Conway Municipal Code to amend the Hotel Incentive Program. Mr. N.
Good afternoon. You probably remember just recently we passed this incentive to encourage hotel development in the city limits. We've had some really productive discussions with the Conway Chamber of Commerce and with several developers who are very interested in this program. Unfortunately, since the inflation rates we're seeing right now are where they are, the incentive we're offering is not quite enough to bring them in. And what they've asked is that we consider for 1 year period of time, increasing the length of some of the incentives to 7 years, from 5 years to 7. So what we're bringing you is a proposed change in that incentive to allow for the 5 year period to be extended to 7 years for a period of 1 year, and then revert back to 5 years for the incentive. There's also some language in here about the timing that's being cleaned up. One of the incentives is a hospitality tax rebate, and we don't say when that starts, when that clock starts. So it does not make sense for it to start when we issue the building permits, because they're not bringing in any of those tax revenues. So it will start when certificate of occupancy is started.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Mr. Hyman.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve first.
Mr. Goldfinch.
I would second and just say thank you to the chamber for working with these developers in the city to get this done. These are solid deals, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
And this is what we wanted for a long time. So thank you, staff, as well. All in favor of the said motion, please indicate so with the showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Emmerich. Item 8A, consideration of a request for waiver of sidewalk requirements for the proposed Whittlemore Park Middle School 500 L Bethel Road, Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am. I didn't realize how much taller he was than me. This is a request for a waiver for sidewalk requirements for the proposed Whittlemore Park Middle School at 500 L Bethel Road. You may remember that in the last 12 months, we have annexed the property that's shown in the blue outline on El Bethel and rezoned it in order to accommodate the future expansion site or new site for Whittlemore Park Middle School. The site plan that's shown on the screen has a lot of thought has been placed into it. El Bethel Road is shown on the far right-hand side, and there's an access point on El Bethel here for the property. Traffic will go in and out of one site from that area. Lots of stacking for vehicles because we know that that was an issue, has been an issue for many years along 378 with the existing Whittlemore Park Middle School site. So they have accommodated that. When we discussed the request with the technical review committee, one of the points that came up was that we are currently working on our pathways and trailways plan. And we want to encourage the ability for folks to connect to the schools as well as to other entities. So the staff was not, the planning staff was not very keen on the application and reached out to the applicant to see if there was another alternative or a compromise. And the applicant did provide an amended request that maintains the sidewalk on the north side of the access point that would then connect into the neighboring property where McLeod Health has said to you in public meetings that they have intention of including trailways or walking paths and the like in their development. The connection across the street has been enhanced to provide safe walking to the neighborhoods across the street, including there's an apartment building and a new residential neighborhood there. And then they would request that the part to the south be allowed for the waiver because there's nothing else to connect to at this time. Again, we know that we have potential for future connections, but this is what the was provided as an amended request by the school board. I apologize. I don't remember if anybody's here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was what was done. The technical review committee had another week with the information and there were no other comments or conflicts that were turned in by staff. So it's up to you.
Is there a recommendation by staff?
Connecting to a vacant property is a positive for us. The chance of that being developed is high. It will have to put a sidewalk in, it will connect eventually.
Well, and my concern with this, without even hearing more, has to do with our propensity sometimes to accept a fee in lieu. And if that sidewalk is established years later, a different decade, different circumstances, different costs to be considered, I think we're selling ourselves short. Anyway, I just needed to say that. Is there something you want to make some comments or are you here
Yeah,
just to answer questions?
And sorry, I'm Ryan with ADC Engineering. We're the civil engineer on the project. But if you could go back to the one with the purple, green and red. The only thing I wanted to point out is that the school district is paying to put in a new signalized intersection that will include a crosswalk to get over to the residential neighborhood on the other side of the street. That's not necessarily a requirement by any means, but we feel that provides a better pathway for potential students or parents or what have you to get across.
But there's no sidewalk on the other side either, is there?
There is a sidewalk.
There is.
now.
Okay.
There's a neighborhood.
I think it was just put in with
new
a,
one here and just neighborhoods here.
that's correct.
Okay, can you describe that a little? I'm losing a sense of where I am.
Okay, you're at, this is at the track on El Bethel.
Mhm.
This is Highway 378, right, Boulevard here.
Right.
That's where El Bethel, dead ends. There are neighborhoods to the right here. There's a new subdivision going in on this brown track here. And there is a residential, apartment complex. Crabtree Crossing Commons,
Mhm.
and that's. Yeah, the new tracks, this development is putting in a sidewalk. And there's an area where the crossing over the bridge is something to be worked out. For making.
Over Crabtree.
And then the McLeod property here. We had discussions during their annexation about potential for extending the creek areas and the open space along the creek areas into some kind of trail system. When they talked to the school was more concerned about the safety and security of the site, which is understandable, but there will be opportunities within the McLeod health system for connectivity to their transportation.
Yeah, I guess maybe the only other thing I'd add for the sidewalk to the south is say those two wooded areas to the south of our site do get developed in the near future or way down the road whenever. Yes, those two
Closer
right
to
there.
378, yes.
That's correct. There isn't any existing sidewalks at the intersection of 378 right now. So even if you were to extend all the way down, you kind of end up with even a sidewalk to nowhere just a little bit farther down the road.
Well, we've got some history of sidewalks that don't connect, but over
Yeah.
time they do.
That's
You know,
true.
that's the goal here.
Yeah. I guess my only other thing about the crossing across El Bethel, if there was a bridge crossing of Crabtree Swamp, that could potentially benefit the
There's a vehicular bridge right now.
correct. I guess if there was a pedestrian
Yeah.
upgrade to that of some sort.
Mr. White?
I just wanted to say that, excuse me, eventually, some kids are gonna be walking to school. And that's the reasoning to me for having sidewalks, especially on the side where the school is. And then there's something called complete streets. We need to make sure that the kids were able to complete the streets were completed so that the kids would be able to walk to school if they want to.
Understood.
Mr. Emery?
Where El Bethel ends currently, that is the beginning of a perimeter road project that's going to start construction the next couple of years. It will have a multi-use pathway with it as well. So if we have the sidewalk that it's able to connect to that pathway, that will provide a method for people to get to and from the school site from pretty far away.
Right. Walk or bike. Anyone else? I would move then that we deny the request.
Second,
We have a properly seconded motion to deny the request for accepting a fee in lieu as opposed to sidewalks on the road that I can't see anymore, El Bethel Road. I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm
thank
not
you.
making light of this at all. All in favor, please indicate so with a showing of your hand. A motion carries unanimously. Item C is
No,
considered.
B.
Item
You're
B,
right.
thank you, thank you. Another sidewalk, that's what got me. Consideration of a request for a waiver of sidewalk requirements for Elmhurst Phase 5. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am. This is a request by the Elmhurst development, Jimmy Gerald for Phase 5 subdivision. There is a section of Phase 5 of Elmhurst that will abut Middlemen Parkway. Middlemen Parkway is at the top of the map. And there are two sites that abut Middlemen Parkway at the top. Under current regulations, those two sites would be required to have sidewalks in frontage along Middlemen Parkway. The applicant has requested a waiver for the 255 linear feet that would be included on those sites using the per linear foot for labor and construction. If granted, then they would owe the city $6,214.35 if you feel like it is appropriate to waive that subdivision or that request. For reference where the site is, property is on Middlemen, across from existing Midtown Village neighborhood, excuse me. The gold star shows the future location of Elmhurst Phase 5.
Would you please point out the location of some new housing that meets the needs of a particular segment of our population, the name of which I cannot conjure up right now?
Midtown Oaks is
Midtown
here.
Oaks, yes.
Yes. Oak Tree
Oak Tree
Farm,
Farm.
Oak Tree
Yes,
Farm,
that's it.
thank you. Yeah. Oak Tree Farm is in the vicinity. And we also have, excuse me, Medland
Sorry.
Parkway is also slated for several hundred units to be developed on the Kingston tract. So Midtown, or excuse me, Middleland Parkway will pick up in business considerably in the coming months and years.
And Oak Tree Farm again is where? I see, it's okay. It's not as close as I thought. Thank you so much. Questions, concerns, comments, Mr. White?
I have the same concerns as previous, is that in that this could be a walkable community. And if they don't have the sidewalks, they'll be walking in the streets, on the road, et cetera. So I would like to make a motion that we deny this as well.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Oh, is the applicant Davis? Yes.
Yes,
We'll hold that, Mr. Davis, please.
a few things I would like to point out, and Davis and Abnett here on behalf of the developer, Mr. Jimmy Gerald. Where this phase 5 is located first, there are not only as far as connectivity type issues, but also right past it, and I can't really, you might can see from right there, right to the top right, there you go to the right, is the city of Conway has a lift station right there, right next to what is basically a floodway. I don't know that there will ever be connectivity unless someone builds across the city's property to connect that from that portion of it. It's not saying that they're removing any sidewalks throughout the subdivision. They're actually leaving their sidewalks throughout the entire phasing of phase 5, which connects to the other phases, which does connect out to the other side of Elmhurst, which does have sidewalks. There are no sidewalks across the street at Midtown for it to connect to, unless somebody's going to build with the city a sidewalk across a federal floodway. We're not trying to ask to not have sidewalks. It's just a matter of logistically, they're going to be a sidewalk to nowhere. And also the construction of those areas, because there is a very limited amount of right of way. Even if you were to build it over into the private property, so to speak, you have and I have photographs I can provide to you that do show an elevation drop of about 8 feet from where the existing grade of that roadway is to where it would be on the roadway side. It's just, I don't think that you will ever see connectivity, and as far as from what the ordinance provides to request a waiver, it fits the bill, so to speak, because I don't see realistically any future expansion just based on the logistics of the current road. There's not any on the remaining part of their portion of Elmhurst is further down, not to say that they couldn't own the additional phasing, but phase 5, as you see, is just basically those 2 lots at the top right there, which we're requesting to be relieved of having to put sidewalks on that, because there's sidewalks that will connect it throughout the neighborhood, throughout to the other side of Elmhurst, which comes out on Mill Pond Road. That being said, that's totally left up to the city. So,
Mr. Nabnett, please accept my apology for.
no,
not
you're
using your
perfectly
timing.
fine.
I
You're
just got
perfectly
stopped
fine.
in the middle of it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can you show me again the section on where they don't want to do something from there to where?
From here, there.
It's basically, if I can show you.
The edge of the pond, from the edge of the pond over to the edge of the property.
How far is Conway Christian on the opposite side? How far is that from the location?
Aerials. Conway Christian is right where she's at. It will be down. It's basically phase 5 is the cleared out area.
Right.
It runs from basically abuts up to the city's pump station,
Which is right there,
right there to basically
goes
where the
down
cleared
there.
area. Yep.
that area there. And I do want to add in that Mr. Nabnett was correct that there is a FEMA floodway there, but it's something that we adopt locally, and we can build bridges over those kind of things.
The
We
only
can
thing I-
build roads and bridges over them.
I'm not saying they can't build it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
it's not our property to be building across and to connect
Sure.
on that. And
Sure.
we also do not own that front corner that is part of, if you look at the very front of it, that's a different property.
Okay.
So
And Ms. Harden, I didn't ask what staff's recommendation is.
Staff does not recommend approval.
So there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? For disapproval, I believe. I second Mr. White's motion. And we'll call a vote. All in favor of not allowing a fee in lieu and requiring the building of a sidewalk, please indicate with a showing of your hand. Three, and how many of you oppose the motion? So, okay, 3-2.
4-2.
4-2, okay, all right. So the motion passes. Thank you.
And that was a motion to deny.
That's a motion to deny.
Thank you.
Item C, consideration of an appeal of the tree board's decision for removal of a landmark live oak tree from property at 206 Lakeland Drive. Ms. Harden.
Mayor, before
I'm sorry.
I begin on that, on this consideration, I have to recuse myself.
Okay, all right. Madam Clerk. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, ma'am. So this is a consideration of an appeal from the tree board's decision for removal of a landmark live oak from property at 206 Lakeland Drive. The property in question at 206 Lakeland Drive had a live oak shown here on the screen here in the rear of the property. As indicated in the report, we had a call from the neighborhood that there was some tree work going on that was had not had a permit sign or anything out the front. They were concerned about it. We made a site visit and found that the property was having tree work done, and research found that there was no tree permit issued for the property. At the time that I made the site visit, I did take some pictures. The blue shoe is mine. It's about a foot long. I now have a measuring tape in my truck after this. Thank you. But the tree root that's there, the live oak, shows that it was in an odd shape. It had some growing part of it growing one way, part of it growing the other way. The neighbors brought in pictures as well of the work. So the staff evaluated the trees that were taken down. Not all of them were protected, but we did have so enough information on the protected trees to come up with a fee assessed for $10,800. Now, when you're taking down a tree in the city of Conway, you have options to replant or to mitigate by paying the nursery amount for what would be replaced. If you take it down without an application or without a permit, we take that and multiply it by a mitigation factor. Sometimes it's multiplying by 2, sometimes it's multiplied by 3. This one in particular was multiplied by 3. In addition, when we measured it, it came up to above the limit that staff would be able to give a permit to and needed tree board review. So the staff indicated that the fee to take for this tree would be $10,800, and the applicant would still need to go to the tree board in order to secure a post removal permission. They went to the tree board and presented their information, including a home inspection report and an estimate from Sawright Tree and Landscaping Company, both indicating that the tree that the home inspection said that the tree needed to be monitored, and the Sawright example showed how much it would take to either prune it or to take it down. And they presented that to the tree board. The tree board discussed it with the applicant, and they recently approved their minutes. So I will indicate from their minutes that after review of existing pictures, it appeared that the board would not have approved the removal of the tree if given the option prior to being cut. And the board made a motion to deny the appeal, and the vote was 4-1. The applicant did indicate that there was medical issues and medical history that prevented them from getting the permits prior to the removal. But the applicant also had worked with the city's arborist in the past on other properties and was aware of the process. So staff had no other option other than to provide the fee estimate to the board, and the board did make their determination. The board, the applicant did appeal in writing as required by code for appeal to you, the city council, in the time frame. And Ms. Rosa Van Pelt and George Van Pelt are here today.
Ms. Harden, let me ask you a couple of questions first.
Sure.
So the $10,800 fee is not arbitrary, it's based on.
No, it is not arbitrary. So we measured, right, thank you for that. We measured the remaining of the tree that were there and came up with the best guess estimate of 32 inches of diameter at base height. That's based on field review by myself and by the city arborist. When we look at a 32-inch tree, it has to be mitigated within 4-inch increments. The minimum tree that you can mitigate a 32 or any live oak is a 4-inch tree for that size. So we divide 32 inches by 4 to get the number of trees. And then there's a penalty of that. Anything that is above, where's the third coming? It's above 17 inches. Above 17 inches, you get 3 times multiplier on your fine. Below that, you would have had, there would have only been 2 times multiplier. We got 32 inches of tree with a 3 times multiplier at 96 inches. It has to be mitigated. When you divide that 96 inches by 4 inches per tree, that means that 24 total trees would need to be replaced in order to accommodate both the tree that was taken down and the violation penalty. Those 24 trees times 450 a tree at the time that this was taken is $10,800.
I have one other question. Is it our practice? I understand the fee imposed on the landowner. Do we also impose a fee on the person who took the tree down?
I don't know that we have, I don't know the history of that.
If that's not a part of our ordinance, it's something I want us to look into. I think they should be, that they should be held responsible for taking down that tree to some extent as well. We can discuss later how much. All right, so the landowner's here and you want to speak to the council?
Yes,
Please.
This is Miss Rosa Van Pelt.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Good afternoon.
We cannot hear you.
Oh.
That she'll adjust that mic, but please keep
Yeah,
it near your
so-
face. Yes, ma'am.
I think so. Yeah, thank you. My name is Rosa Sibilia Van Pelt, and I'm here to please ask for a relief for the fine. Wasn't intentional or purposely. There was a lot of things going on at that time, and my husband was very sick, very, very sick those days. And personally, was not intentionally, I didn't even know that I was a protected tree.
Are you saying that someone took the tree down without your knowledge or without your request?
No. But the person and I didn't know. And we always saw, including my husband those days, it was that I was a danger to the house, not only to the roof, but to the foundation. So when I spoke to the guy, he did say, well, this is gonna fall in the roof. It's already on top of the roof, but it can fall anytime. And what the guy that those days said, it was, if he trimmed that branch, the other part will fall down in the other side. So I have a pictures
May I ask you this? Had you taken down trees before? Have you taken down other trees on your property?
Yeah, but I didn't know about trees. I'm learning now.
I'm sorry.
I-
My question is,
I'm learning now.
were trees taken down on your property before this tree came down?
Yeah.
Have you worked with our arborist in the past, Ms. Wanda Lilly? Ms. Lilly, would you raise your hand, please? Have you ever worked with her concerning taking down trees
Yeah.
in your yard? Before
Yes.
this tree was taken down? Okay, that's my question.
Yeah, we asked last time for the one that is the little leaf that they are at the street all the time. So those I recognize.
Did you call her about this
No,
tree?
but no, we didn't. In the past, we did not cut a tree.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
In the past, it wasn't cut. It was just trim.
You had some trimming done,
Yes.
but before you did that trimming, you involved Miss Lilly?
Those days, yes.
Okay, may I ask her some questions? Just one second.
Yeah.
Ms. Lilly, could you give us a little clarity on any former relationship you might have had with this homeowner? That's what I needed to know. Thank you so much. Okay, go, Mr. Emmerich,
I'm
please.
sorry to interrupt, but if I can just, point of order here. Under the ordinance 314-15, the denial of a landmark tree removal permit. Any person denied a landmark tree removal permit by the tree board may appeal to Conway City Council. An appeal must be filed within 10 days. I don't believe that they can appeal the fine to you. All they can appeal is whether the tree permit is or should be issued. So if you find that the tree board made a mistake in denying the post-cutting tree permit, then you can overturn that, which would overturn the entire fee process.
I see.
You do not have, according to what I'm reading, the authority to reduce the fee within the ordinance.
Right.
And I apologize for not catching that before right now, but my
That's okay.
reading of this as we sit here, that's my interpretation of that. And if
Right.
you have a question with my interpretation, what I'd recommend is you defer it. We can bring in another legal authority to review it.
And if it sounds like it, that's not the direction I was moving in. I was not even considering that at all.
I believe the request though from the applicant is for a reduction in the fee
I see.
and the
Which-
consideration.
Which is not within
That's
our purview.
That's
I
correct.
understand. Ma'am, it
Yes.
sounds like, I think you've come this afternoon to ask that the city council either remove the fee or reduce the fee.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And according to our ordinance, the city council doesn't have a right to do either. We can either, and correct me if I make a mistake, Adam, it sounds like we can either support what the tree board has decided completely or concur with them that they did the right thing.
Let me read it one more time and make
Okay.
sure we're all on the same page. We've not had this happen before, so we're in uncharted territory. The denial of a landmark tree removal permit. Any person denied a landmark tree removal permit by the tree board may appeal to Conway City Council. That is the only grounds for appeal of the tree board is that, not what the fine amount would be. The tree board is a quasi judicial board assigned with assessing the fee. And so any appeal of that would have to go to circuit court necessarily.
And what has been done already precludes us from hearing anything.
In fact, the Conway tree, in the section above that in your packet, the Conway Tree Board shall make the final determination of any penalty for the removal of a protected or landmark tree without a permit. That's pretty clear. So all you can do is if you believe that the decision of the tree board not to grant the permit retroactively was an error, you can overturn that, which would relieve them of any fee.
All right. Was that even requested?
They did a general appeal of the decision, so that would be covered within their general.
Okay, all right. Mr. Goldfish.
Mayor.
Sorry, I have a pictures. Of the.
Well, the reason, ma'am, the reason that won't help is the law tells us what we can change, what we can have happen. You want these pictures?
Yes.
I'll be happy to give them back to you. But we're not able to make a decision that would have anything to do with what the fine was. That has to be settled by a circuit court. And that is not us. We're just the city council. So the only way that you can get that amount done away with or reduced would be to take it to circuit court. The city council doesn't have the authority to change that fine. I'm sorry,
And so what's the procedure?
ma'am.
What's the procedure?
If you would please take a card from Mr. Emmerich, and I'm sure he will explain in detail what you would need to do.
I do think there's a matter pending, and that matter is whether the tree board made a mistake in not issuing a permit retroactive.
That you would like for us to act on.
I think that needs to be acted upon.
Mr. Goldfish.
Mayor, I move that we support the actions of the tree board.
Mr. White.
Second.
There was probably seconded motion that this council agrees that it supports the decision of the tree board. Are there any questions or comments before I call a vote?
Comment.
Yes, sir.
And I feel that way. This isn't the first time. We know that.
Yeah.
You know, people make mistakes and they get second chances, but this isn't the first time. And y'all knew better. And it is what it is.
There's a motion on the table.
Where I can get any help.
We can have you talk with our administrator about your next steps, but let me finish this piece, please. All in favor of supporting the decision by the tree board, please indicate so with a showing of your hand. And you've recused yourself, so the motion carries unanimously. So what we've just done is we've said that we support the decision by the tree board that what happened with the tree should not have happened, and that you would be fined for it. And in order for you to get that changed, you would have to go higher than the city council. You'd have to go to the circuit court, the 15th Judicial Circuit here in Horry County. Mr. Emmerich will explain that to you further, but not today and not here.
Yeah,
We have to move on with the meeting.
I understand, but I don't know much, I'm a simple person and I don't know, certainly, I don't know about trees. But if your regulations, your rules and your protection, I believe that probably it can end here, because if you are the one that I can decide and I go further up, they're gonna respect your decision here, I think.
They may take into consideration our decision, but it's not up to us what they do with it. I'm afraid that is yours to take care of. We won't be able to help you with that. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I just want to make clear that it was not intentional.
Yes, ma'am.
I really apologize for what.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. I wish I had better news for you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Item D is consideration of a hotel incentive application for Waccamaw Hotel LP for a proposed Fairfield by Marriott, 2061 Highway 501, PIN 383-07-01-008. Miss Katie Dennis.
Hello, good afternoon. So today before you is a consideration for the Waccamaw Hotel or the Fairfield Inn by Marriott. I have spoken to the applicant this morning. They are requesting that we defer this decision until the amendments that were done in item 8E are finalized, and then they would reapply and come back to you guys to request following the amendments that are made.
Thank you so much. So procedurally, do we need to move to postpone or?
So motion to defer.
I move that we defer this decision until such time as final action is taken on the the hotel incentives.
Thank
Is
you.
there a second,
Mayor,
Mr.?
Just, can it be put on, placed on the consent agenda for next meeting? Or does it have to have?
The second reading of the incentive will go on consent agenda. So this can be in the regular agenda. It will still follow the second reading. So we can approve this incentive, or you can approve this incentive.
Through the consent agenda and then actually hear first reading of this?
This only requires one reading.
Okay.
So you'll just approve this or consider this in the consideration section of the next meeting.
Mr. Goldfinch.
Could we approve it contingent to the other being ratified?
I think that's, I would say
Not
no,
necessary. Okay.
no,
All right.
because you basically be approving it at a later date. I don't think you can,
Okay.
it just,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. So we will hear it again after, which could be in the same meeting. All right, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ms. Dennis. Item E, discussion of participation in the Waccamaw River study. Mr. Harrelson, I'm sorry.
There needs to be a second on that motion to defer and then a vote.
Oh, did we skip that, Mr.?
Second.
We have a properly seconded motion. All in favor, please indicate by showing your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much, Mr. Emmerich. It's getting late. Mr. Harrelson.
Mayor, council, I hope everybody's doing well tonight. So I have something for you tonight that has been talked about for years and I think wanted for years, far back as I can remember. What I have here is a consideration of a partnership with Horry County and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for the purposes of completing a Waccamaw River and watershed study. In that, it is going to begin the Waccamaw River in North Carolina and will end in Georgetown County at Winyah. The study will take 3 years. They're going to look into everything. That is
Everything.
there you go. So it's going to include diversion canals, new technology. It's pretty much going to update everything. It's going to change how we do stormwater in Conway. Hopefully they'll come up with some answers to provide some relief during these big storms. I did say a little bit into it, investigate the feasibility of constructing a floodwater diversion canal connecting the Waccamaw River to the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway, constructing a floodwater diversion canal connecting the PD Waccamaw Rivers to Murrells Inlet or the Atlantic Ocean, and identifying and investigating any other flood mitigation strategy that can offer significant improvements to the resiliency of the region. The study will take 3 years. The price tag is $3 million. Horry County will be funding 50%, which is 1.5 million. The Army Corps will be funding the remaining 1.5%. The city of Conway has been invited to partner with Horry County and the Army Corps of Engineers, since we do have a pretty in-depth history of flooding with the Waccamaw River, and it runs right through town. With that, staff did recommend a cash contribution to assist Horry County. In the issue paper, it does say 75,000 over 3 years. This issue paper was written based off the first meeting we had. There was another more in-depth meeting with the engineers last week. 10% of the study will consist of just Conway, the city of Conway. Conway will be pretty much a big portion in a 10% manner of the study. So we're changing that, recommending 50,000 over per year for 3 years for a total of 150,000, which would be 10% of Horry County's $1.5 million.
I just got a question. Was that requested of us?
It was absolutely not.
Mr. Hammond?
I can't think of a better way to spend $150,000. I think we get more benefit of this study than probably anybody by far. So I would make a motion to approve this.
I second his motion. Is there any further discussion or any questions? There being none, all in favor, please indicate so with the showing of your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
all.
much. Item 9, City Administrator's Report.
All right. We have some fun things to talk about tonight. First of all, the terrace is taking some shape. If you've been down on Laurel Street today, you'll see the walls going up. If you're to remind you what this project will be, the concrete block walls will be faced with brick. There will be 2 entrances, one on Laurel Street, one on the future garden walk is the rear of this picture. This will be a 3-step down mini stage for outdoor movies, concerts, and small event gatherings. It's looking better as every day. It's going to be a great project. We have our first event planned in there in October, which I'll go into in a few minutes. So that is our deadline. So the end of September is our goal, so that we can have that first event in there in October.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Will this help us determine our need for a larger amphitheater?
Well, I hope if it's packed every night, then we'll need a larger one for sure.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Some bad news. Last week, we had a partial fail of the seawall at the marina. This is you can see the little structure at the top of this picture. That is the pump house for the fountain. So right behind the fountain there, the seawall collapsed in the heavy rain that we had, about 8 inches of rain in one short amount of period. It caused the failure of the cable, which you can see right. If I can get this thing to work, this is the top one, right there. That cable snapped. And basically there's an anchor up here in the ground. It's called a dead man. The cable attaches to that. It snapped and the wall gave way. We met with Federal Marine this morning. They actually dug it out to stabilize it over the weekend. They're going to replace a 120-foot section of seawall that is compromised, and it'll last another 10 or 12 years. They did replace a section a few years ago that was further up that was compromised during one of the earlier floods. So this will hopefully give it another lease on life. It is insured, so we're filing a claim and hopefully it'll be covered. We do have the funds in our hospitality account to cover it, but this is an emergency repair to stabilize the banks. The new wall behind Walgreens and Chick-fil-A is making great progress. The new pond is completed. The stormwater infrastructure is in place. The road is taking shape. If you go out there, you'll think I'm a liar, but you see it, it's actually coming together. Chick-fil-A is closed for the next 12 to 16 weeks. And in that what they're doing is remodeling and expanding the drive-through and their parking lot, which will actually push back into the area where we're building the road, which we knew. So the road we're building will tie into their new facility. So that was really the ability for us to be able to complete this road was because of Chick-fil-A's expansion. And this will help multiple entities, and including Chick-fil-A too. So if you go out there, you'll start to see it taking shape. As the next couple of weeks go by, you'll start to really be able to prove them not a liar.
You said no Chick-fil-A for how long?
No Chick-fil-A for 12 to 16 weeks. We are having another dive-in movie on August 26th at 7:30. The movie is Encanto. That is at the Sports and Fitness Center. It is free for members of the Sports and Fitness Center and only $2 for non-members. National Night Out is tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. at Smith Jones Park. It's a great chance to meet first responders from Conway, from Horry County, and from the state. And hot dogs, free hot dogs. So if there's no better reason than the hot dogs, come meet your first responders at the same time. Friday from 4 to 7 at the Conway Walmart, the Conway Police Department is holding the Cram a Cruiser event, raising school supplies for families in need. Again, that's 4 to 7 on Friday. First day of school is only 2 weeks away. And as we have all year, staff members are encouraged to wear green and gold on Fridays for Tiger Fridays. So if you're in city, wear green and gold in celebration of our Conway Tigers. Coastal's back in session on the 24th of August. So get ready for lots of activity and traffic around campus. There's a litter cleanup event on August 25th at the Town Green beginning at 10:30. Some of you may have seen the fountain at the end of Laurel. Is that picture? There it is. That was not supposed to be painted white. We have a contractor that restored the inside of that fountain. It was failing. It's a gunite, basically the same as a gunite pool. So they restored the gunite, put new tile around the top, and then they threw in the painting of the fountain for free. We're not sure we love it. We're going to fill it with water and run it and see what we think. And if everyone hates it, we'll paint it. But for now, we're going to leave it white and see what happens. I have heard just today that someone loves it. So we'll see, put water in it, see how it goes. It is stark. So if you haven't seen it, you will when you drive down there. The median beds on 501 between Lake Busby and 501 will be sprayed tomorrow morning. When summer heat fades, we're going to plant more material in there, hopefully get it to take. And as more things grow, there's less room for litter and things like that and debris in there. We did get some very positive news this morning. Chestnut Bay has been identified for further review by FEMA under the BRIC grant. It's very positive. What we heard, not necessarily that they're funding us, but that they've moved it forward in the next step, which is much better than getting denied at the first step. And we'll keep you posted as we receive further updates. Finally, as you know, we've got some pretty big tricks up our sleeves for October this year. Have no fear. We're going to keep those under wraps for now, but because we're putting together an increasingly impressive calendar of events, we need to start promoting those. So I'm going to make the first promotion of those events tonight. So I'm going to highlight the calendar of October for you now. I'm going to go fast. Trust me, these will be published shortly. First, on October 1st, Halloween Carnival in the Town Green. It's also Parents Weekend at CCU. October 3rd, spooky boat tours begin by Waccamaw Outfitters, and those will run every Monday and Wednesday night through the month of October. On October 7th, we have a working title of Witches, Wizards, and Warlocks Ride. Be sort of a pub crawl in Conway, but witches, wizards, and warlocks themed. On October 8th, there will be a Halloween boat parade. Also outdoor movie night at the Terrace, the first meeting at the Terrace. Halloween fun run and 5K on October 3rd. On October 14th and 15th, the Smoke on the Waccamaw Barbecue Cook-Off. Also on the 14th is the Chamber of Commerce annual meeting and masquerade ball. The 15th is homecoming, CCU homecoming and the city sponsor night. October 20th through 22nd is the Ghost Walk by Conway Downtown Alive. On the 22nd is the Spooktacular Disc Golf event at Waccamaw River Park. October 27th through 30th is Carrie at the Theater of Republic. The 28th through 30th is a haunted trail at Waccamaw River Park. The 29th is a Halloween golf cart parade sponsored by Conway Downtown Alive and a corn and costume event at the Horry County Museum. The 30th is the trunk or treat, the First United Methodist Church. The 31st is Halloween. It's also the Rock Church's Halloween event and trunk or treat at the First Baptist Church. We know we're adding more events to this every day, but this is the running calendar as of now. It's going to be exciting and lots of fun. Yes, sir.
You didn't put me on the calendar.
Which event is yours?
The biggest pumpkin in Conway. I've already talked to the farmer.
All right, biggest pumpkin.
And you can just put it on there.
You
People
got
can
it.
ride by, get out and look at it.
Is
Just
it
pick
good?
a day. It doesn't.
Do you think it could be the biggest pumpkin in Horry County?
He promised.
He was just overpromise from the voice in the back. Okay. All right. And then finally, I'm leaving on this note by turning it over to Devin Parks from the Conway Chamber of Commerce to give us just a little update on economic development that he's been working on behalf of the city.
Mr. Emmerich, not so fast.
Oh, I tried.
You said something about 10:30 on August 25th as a cleanup day.
Yes,
Did it start at 10:30
yes.
in August?
That's what I got off your calendar.
August,
Keep Conway beautiful, August 25th, 10:30.
okay. I'm thinking heat of the day is.
It's an hour long cleanup,
Oh,
10:30 to 11:30.
I see. Is there food?
You can stay longer. I don't know if there's food. It's only an hour long. You can start at 9. They'll give you the tools. You can check them out at the library.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Devin.
We'll be asking for that list because you talk too fast. Mr. Parks. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, City Council, for giving me the opportunity to just give you a quick update on our city's economic climate, what we've been up to over the past year. Just fair warning, what's in your packets is a little more heavy-handed compared to what I have on this presentation. So if you do have any questions moving forward, by all means, just let me know. First and foremost, let's start with a very long overdue thank you for Riverfest. We had about 15,000 visitors throughout the day attend. A great event. Gives me mild anxiety to think about having this event without y'all's help and support. I don't think it could be done. So thank you so much for all the staff and thank you to council for everything that y'all have done. Real quickly, right now we're at about 27,600 residents within the city of Conway. Over the past 5 years, this equates to about an 8.6% growth rate. The next 5 years, there's a 9% anticipated growth rate. So as we can see, there's not a whole lot of indication that the development that we've been doing lately is going to decline anytime soon. For retail purposes, we focus on a retail trade area. So basically all that is consumers spending money within city limits, not necessarily living in city limits, but what is our trade area population for recruitment purposes? It's right at 85,000, 86,000. Currently, I shouldn't say currently, as of May, there are over 4,300 residential units under review for development right now. So this is a chart of business licenses filed within the city of Conway over the past 4 years. You can see a couple dips during the winter months, which is pretty normal, but also you can see a consistent uptick with the amount of business license filed. We actually have approximately 1,200 businesses within city limits right now. The majority of these businesses are small business. 62% of our businesses are 4 employees or less. So as we continue to grow, we obviously want to make sure we don't lose our hometown feel, which I do not anticipate it being an issue whatsoever. And I did want to touch on traffic patterns prior to COVID and post-COVID. So any tourism driven county is gonna take a bigger hit, so, and that's where you see those counties highlighted in yellow, of which we are a part of. But digging a little bit deeper, Conway has actually almost completely recovered as far as retail traffic. We're up 14% with domestic tourism compared to this time in 2019. So whatever our normal was before COVID, we are actually not only surviving, we're thriving. All right, so as far as the city of Conway proper, we've seen over 1.5 million visitors in the past 12 months. The chart that you see is a heat map indicating the home locations of those visitors, and it's based on a minimum of 2 visits to Conway. So you can see our visitor traffic is predominantly northeastern United States, North Carolina, South Carolina, obviously the heavy focus. One slide that is included in your packets, but I didn't include in the presentation, is where are these visitors, where are their favorite places once they come here? And I thought a neat one in the top 10 was the Food Line on Main Street right here. This Food Line is the #1 visited food line in South Carolina, number 20 in the United States. Which, I mean, that's a really impressive number, but it also gives you the indication, for the need for grocers in our immediate area. And this is absolutely a tool we use when we go out and recruit. As far as downtown visitors, just over 280,000 visitors in the past 12 months. The 2 charts that are really hard to see on the bottom, they're nothing, it's kind of par for the course, what we would expect. And Mondays and Sundays are kind of the slower days of the year. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are our highest traffic, with lunchtime and dinner time kind of being the peak, and it tapers off around 9-10 p.m. As far as the housing market is concerned, that top portion focuses on the 295, 26, and 27 area codes of Conway. Median home prices are up 21% from this time last year. For Conway Incorporated, our year-over-year median sales prices have increased 35% over the last 4 years. So there's a consistent increase in the median home value for Conway. Coincidentally, the supply, so basically your monthly supply is remaining pretty consistent, but any market where you have an increase in your median sales and a decrease in supply or a low supply, that's a strong market. There are obviously factors moving forward that, we got to keep a close eye on this, and I'll certainly keep you updated as we move forward. But for right now, Conway's market is very strong. Now, we've gone over the proposed bypass multiple times. I'm not here to do that. If you aren't aware of the proposal, if you could visit that link right there at the bottom, conwayscnow.com/bypass. It's a quick 5-minute video just detailing why we think there's a need for an additional bypass over the Waccamaw River. I included this slide because County Council will be accepting nominations for the Ride 4 Advisory Committee in August. City of Conway gets to designate at least one, correct, Adam? Is that? At least one to represent our city. So I just wanted to put that on your radar. And finally, just a little report card of what we've been up to over the last year. We've went to 4 different retail conventions. We've made many connections that have actually assisted us in deals that are going on right now. On a smaller scale, you know, your kind of mom and pop business startups, we've met with 42 of them. We've had 29 ribbon cuttings and 140 new jobs created as a result of that. So, you know, with this investment from y'all, we just want to thank you and show you that, you know, the return is there, you know, the dollar amount is there, but it's really about providing our residents with the commerce that they need. And that is all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Parks. Does anybody want to make a comment or Mr.
One
Hyman?
comment, Kevin, you and I have talked about this in the past, but it gets brought up constantly. Seems like you can't see a post on social media where somebody says, why don't you guys bring a grocery store? How many grocers would you say you talked to in the past year?
8.
80?
Eight actual national retail grocers. And yes, sir. Two of which have land under contract right now. I can't specify which ones. Both of these parcels we're discussing are on 501, but they're literally competing right now. And they know that Conway is at a point where, I mean, case in point, that Food Lion stat, there's nothing extraordinary about that Food Lion. It's a great Food Lion, but you know, it just. Go
This
ahead.
has been a goal though for the past years.
This has been on y'all's list for 5-10 years now. I mean, there's been a need for 5 or 10 years. Yeah.
Can I follow up on Mr. Hyman's question? What is the feedback? Obviously, there's some things working in our favor. And I know you're not going to go into detail on that tonight, but what is some of the kickback or, you know, that you get from these grocers?
It's not necessarily kickback as much as what it is that they're looking for.
I'm sorry. That sounded terrible. Like a
Oh, no.
like a, you know, but some of the feedback.
I didn't even know
did
that
not
that's
mean
what you
that
meant.
What's some of the feedback you're getting when you approach certain grocers?
So here's what they want to see. They want to see immediate residential and commercial development within a certain area that they're looking at. They want to see leakage. They want to know how many of our residents are actually taking the trip down to Carolina Forest to, not kind of giving away a little bit, but to shop at their other locations. Really, it's about demand. It's not necessarily who we are as a city overall. They're trying to find a targeted location. And with the commercial development going on 501, even on the south end as well, those are the areas that they're really targeting right now with the opportunity to expand into other markets as well within our city. The pushback that we received 5 years ago is not pushback we're receiving anymore. This is a matter of them doing their due diligence and just closing on that particular parcel. It's coming.
It's population growth and median household. I mean, as far as those numbers going up so much, that have a lot to do with it.
It certainly plays a factor. The amount of growth that we've experienced in this immediate area has put us on everyone's radar. You know, before I was getting hard nosed and barely accepting a phone call, and now I have them coming to me. It's a good feeling.
Yeah. The Lindas come to you. You heard the commercial. Yeah, that's awesome. That's wonderful. Thank you for a really good report. It's very hopeful and very positive, and thank you for what you've done to make it be.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for your continued support.
Absolutely. Thank you. And now for council input. Believe Ms. Butler that you have the floor.
Thank you. Real quick today, I just wanted to follow up with what Adam mentioned earlier. School is coming back into session. And we have our teachers and our students who are preparing to come back at not only with Horry County schools, but also with CCU. So let us just keep them in mind in our thoughts and our prayers as they enter into a new school year.
Thank you so much, Ms. Butler. Mr. Goldfinch.
Mr. Jordan gave me his proxy to speak during council input, so I'm gonna be extra long tonight, and I've just got two things. Saturday was out on the Waccamaw River with the family, had a great time. And, if you boat, you know what I'm about to say. When you pass another boat, you wave and they wave back. Everybody does it, like 99.9%. You wave. And it got me sort of nostalgic. I was thinking about growing up, 30 years ago when everybody in Conway knew everybody. I mean, it was a much smaller town and most people were from here. And you'd pass somebody on Main Street and you waved. And it's just a good thing. And so that's my challenge. Let's start waving. It's a good thing. It's a good community thing. Yeah, I tried to. And but let's start waving. And the other thing, so I took this picture down at the marina, and I thought that maybe Timmy, one of your staff, had carved that, and I was going to give props to somebody, but apparently that was purchased. But that's just really cool art, and I understand there's a flower too. Yep, Miss Wanda.
It's a fish.
It's a fish. Yeah, it's a fish. There's also a flower. I didn't get a picture of it at the park too. So anyway, just cool stuff. Just a reminder that our staff is creative and always looking for ways to enhance the quality of life here in Conway. And I think that's what Devin was talking about. And so anyway, that's it. Have a great week.
Fun loving too. Thanks for pointing that out. Mr. White.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Day, please.
Wow. Mr. Hyman.
Mayor, just briefly, I will second what William said about the waving. I grew up on the Waccamaw and, sitting out on the dock, you waved at everybody. And that was just a part of life. And I think it should be. One thing that's kind of exciting that's come to my attention, and I'm hoping that the city can be a part of it. Speaking of the river, is there was an old Whitcomb train. It was an old diesel train that was used for timber. And it's on the old, they call it the old river. But when I was a kid, it was about, I'd say 10 yards off the bank. But unfortunately with the flooding, the river's changed a little bit and now it's in the water. So there's a group that is, it's part of the same group that dealt with some of the dilapidated boats. And they've agreed to help move that. And I think it's something that if we can become a part of, maybe we can do something to memorialize. Conway has a long, rich timber industry from the old Conway lumber mill down here to the boats that used to be built right where Bonfire's at. So I think that we really have an opportunity, and I think it's probably going to be on the next agenda, but have a cool opportunity to bring back a part of history that kids can see and realize that used to be there. But other than that, it's hot, stay cool. That's fun.
And I think you said that was the first diesel train.
That
in that era.
Whitcomb trains made the first diesels is what I was told. But these are small. It's not like a steam engine that would pull passenger cars. These were used in mining and timber operations. And if you go down Old River, you can still see some of the timbers that they used. It's very, very likely that that train came into Conway. And I say train car, whatever you call it, but very, very likely that it was used to bring timber here. So I think that can be really neat. I'm sorry? It is. I think it's 20, it's set so it can be 24 inch to 36 inch, but it's Whitcomb, WHITCOMB. That's the type. But yeah.
Thank you so much. Ms. Helms.
As a flood victim, I was happy to see this river study. So that's a big deal. I appreciate the support, and that is a big deal for Conway, I think. And also I want to thank staff and the committees we have. I think they have a hard job and they make us look good. And today was effective. I think that, we have a hard job, but sometimes we have to do what's right. That's all I have. Have a good week.
Thank you so much. The League of Cities met Thursday last week. And there was a very good participation with the various municipalities across Horry County. I think 3 cities were represented in full. It's just a really important opportunity to support each other, to share information, to learn from each other, and just to have fellowship with other councils. So I'd certainly encourage our continuation in that vein. I'm no longer president. That might be even more reason to come. That has been taken on now by Mike Suggs, who is a council member from Loris, South Carolina. One of the things that was brought to our attention that evening is that there's an appeal for support from A Father's Place. A Father's Place has always been one of my favorite charities in that, and this is for organizations and individuals. They have done outstanding work building relationships between fathers and their children, working out the kinds of issues that occur between parents who do not live together, helping men and women complete their education or pick up where they left off, secure jobs, and just ultimately become better parents. Of late, one of their concerns is the rash of killings that has been going on in Horry County and some of our rural areas. You know, we can't draw a line in the sand and say that that didn't happen in Conway. I think we're all affected. As a matter of fact, there was a recent murder in Conway that was tied to, as I understand, a string of murders that are happening in the Longs community. So what happens on one side of the county very well does affect the other. Their appeal is to put together funding so that they qualify for a piece of money. I so meant to bring the flyer with me and neglected to do so. I can't tell you the funder, but the funder requires that they first have $6,000 to make themselves approvable for this larger piece of money that would arm them with an opportunity to make some impact along the line of helping to discourage, to do whatever it takes. Or killing each other just isn't helpful to anybody. And if there's anybody who I believe is armed to understand some of the shortcomings in some of our communities, to put things in place that would make that a less likely outcome, I would say A Father's Place is a very good candidate. If any of you individually, if any of the organizations you represent, if your church, if your club, if your neighborhood watch group, if your city, if anybody will, I would say that this is a very, very important opportunity for them to be able to receive a grant so that they can fight to save lives. And that is my report. I thank everybody for being here. It's been a really good meeting so far. We will now, are we going to stay up here for the workshop? Wonderful, wonderful. So there's now a workshop and our clerk is so, I don't know how she does it. She can predict within usually 2 or 3 minutes the time that we'll be at a certain point on our agenda. And she's missed this one by 4 minutes, 5. I can't trust my own watch, but at any rate, she thought we'd be here at 5:50 and we're at 5:58. So you're still pretty good, Ms. Shelley. Thank you so much. This workshop will entail a discussion on a fire department training facility. We have our chief of the fire department, Mr. Lee Hendrick, here with us, and representatives from the fire department, Mr. Perzan. So glad to see you.
I brought the boss.
I'm sorry?
I brought my boss.
You brought your boss? Yeah. We understand well why you'd say that. Thank you so much, and please proceed.
Mayor and Council, this is just an update on our fire training facility. We've been talking about this since way back in fiscal year 18-19. So this has been going on for several years.
Whoa, 18-19?
Yeah, year 18-19, no, 2018, 2019. And the reason for the delays are numerous, but mostly it was just due to COVID and not being able to get out and really do anything. So we finally picked up the pace a little bit once Assistant Chief Perzan got in place. That was one of his pet projects. So he's been tasked with kind of pushing this along. So just to kind of give you an update of where we're at so far year to date, we've spent $32,807. That's on the Connex boxes we mentioned that will be what the building's constructed out of. And we had to spend a little bit of money on the new road site, but we've decided that the city shop complex is where we're going to land this thing. So we've cleared the site and we're ready to move forward. So we met with the vendor that we've been speaking to for several years now, and he finally went out on site, told him what we wanted to do, and then he finally sent his proposal. So here we are today. The proposal was for $99,440. We had approved for $60,000 back in fiscal year 19 and 20, which we knew would not cover the full price, but would come close. But due to inflation and a few other reasons, that price has jumped up significantly on us. We have $25,000 in the budget this year, so we're right at $75,000 short. So we're at a kind of a crossroads now. We've got everything on hold. We're ready to move forward. This is very exciting for us. This has been needed for several years. I actually went back and looked at some of our notes, and we've been traveling to North Myrtle Beach and Myrtle Beach to do our annual training since back before I started in 1994. So we've been traveling for several years. So it'll be nice to have this facility home, so we'll be able to do it in-house. We're averaging right at $7,000 a year in overtime just to travel to those facilities because we can't do it on duty. So this will allow us to do everything on duty. If we do move forward with the site, it's a 210-day build. That's just an estimate. So we're looking at mid to late spring of 2023. We'll be ready to do a ribbon cutting and start on the project. So that's kind of where we're at today. That $74,000 extra dollars will just cover the cost of the construction. There are a few other things we'd have to pick up in-house, but we can cover that with our operational funding. So we're at the point now where we're coming to council to request an additional $75,000. We have $25,000 in the budget now, and he's agreed to take that as a down payment to start the process, but we don't want to commit anything without the total funding. So we're kind of at a crossroads now, and I met with Adam about it, and we think we can come up with the funding, but that's obviously not a decision that we can make.
If I might,
And he's not asking for you to vote on a budget
know.
amendment tonight. Just if you're interested, if you're in favor of it, it will be included in a future budget.
absolutely. The statement I want to make is one in support of the facility. I can imagine the difficulty with your having to do the travel. I'm also surprised that our inability to pay for it now is only $75,000. That we're only $75,000 short. What you do and how you do it, how you prepare is very important to us. And I believe it not only will serve as an aid to Conway firefighters, but to others in the area. Much needed. I understand the delay and I would certainly support us taking steps to move forward.
This is just I just want to show you a picture. This is a pencil rendering, but this is exactly what it'll look like with the Connex boxes constructed. And that's where the cost comes in. He has to come in and cut the doors, has to cut the entrance ways out. He has to weld all the connexes together. He actually makes a series of rooms inside. He has to fabricate the stairs, the rails and all that. So it's a pretty elaborate process. We actually reached out to other nationwide vendors, and this is kind of the same concept, but you look at the cost at the bottom, you're looking at $700,000 to $800,000 for something similar. And this is a little bit cheaper and more of the common build, but it's still $300,000 to $400,000. And those prices are pretty old. So it's probably a lot more than that now.
What's the square footage, please? Roughly?
I'm not sure we have that. It's they're 40-foot Connex boxes and there's 6 of them. So it's not as big as you would think, but it's exactly what we need. Okay. And like I said, this is a turnkey. So once we're finished, this will be everything. This is the site. We've already got it cleared and ready to go. So the next step for us would be to pour the footers. We've already done the engineer drawing and all that. So we're ready to go. So
One of the other delays was the location of the site had to move too. Do you want to?
Yeah, we spent a little bit of money on the new road site. We mentioned that before. Once we actually started getting into the meat and potatoes of it, it was going to cost a few $100,000 to extend the water line for about a mile down New Road. So that kind of put the brakes on that part. I've talked to James and he's agreed to extend the water line for this project. It's not as far, but he's going to absorb those costs. Been working with Brandon to clear the site, and Gavin's going to extend the power. So a lot of stuff we can do in-house on site because it's on our property. So it makes a huge difference. We saved a lot of money on the fencing because it's already behind the fence. So there's a lot of, moving parts here, but the big decision to move was that water line for several $100,000. I say several, it's about 200,000, but that's a lot more than we had in our budget. So.
Well, now we're going to hear from your boss, Assistant Chief Perzan. Okay, thank you so much.
And the reason we chose this vendor is he actually is local. He lives in Merle's Inlet. He's actually constructed 2 other training facilities in Horry County, and all the work will be done on site. We're actually moving the Connex boxes to the site this week, and they'll be there, and he would come on site, do all his constructing there. And then one of the build days will be taking a crane and stacking them, and then everything else he can do on site. So everything will be done here versus the other vendors would have to come and bring it in on like a bus or like a train or something and set it up. I mean, there's several different ways to do it, and it's just very expensive.
Are there other questions or comments? Mr. Goldfinch?
So you've cleared the site or you've got to clear it?
It's cleared.
Just pine trees.
Mhm. Just pine trees. We walked the site. We're confident we made the right decision there.
Very good. Anybody else? Well, I think we're headed in a good direction. We'll listen for more.
All right.
Thank you so much. With the workshop completed, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Goldfinch.
So moved.
Is there a second, Mr. Hyman?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? There being none, all in favor, please indicate so by showing your hand. Motion